Started. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Flamingo's latest webinar. My name is Jude, and I am the founder and CEO of Flamingo. This webinar is about how to create a 5-star move-in experience that residents really, really love. We'll talk through some tactics, some reasons why you should really create a great resident experience versus having an experience that is just an afterthought. So as I go through this, definitely feel free to ask questions. Our webinars are supposed to be very, very social. So if you have questions or comments or feedback, post in the chat. So that's what that's there for. So for those of you that don't know what Flamingo is, so Flamingo is a resident experience platform. Our goal is to make life much more simpler for you and your residents. So we offer a few things to help you really create a great resident experience without having to download a million apps or use a million vendors or different services. So we do events and fitness. We offer a free branded app. We offer service amenities like maids, dog walkers that residents can book. We offer resident rewards and reputation management. There's a handout if you want to get more information about Flamingo. And then, so as far as who is going to be presenting today, so it's me and Mariola. So Mariola is the VP of Lifestyle at Allegro. So Allegro is a senior living property management company. And one of their marquee properties is Avador Living, which is a 55 plus active multifamily apartments. So they have locations in Minneapolis, Chicago, and a few other ones that are on the way. So I'll have Mariola give a quick intro.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Drew said, I'm Mariola Dosi, Vice President of Lifestyle for Allegro. We initially started off as being exclusively senior living, but we do extend now into the active adult brand of 55 plus. And my role in the company is to build the resident experience, everything from what we'll cover today with onboarding through their time with us, programs, social events, everything that comes into with living in one of our communities.
Okay, great. And then as for me, so I'm the founder and CEO of Flamingo. So growing up, I always wanted to be a superhero. So never actually developed any superpowers. So I decided to focus on helping property managers and helping residents with an all-in-one experience platform. So to really get at the heart of why you need to focus on an amazing move-in experience, starts with why to focus on resident experience as a whole. So the 90s were really all about having lavish units, so really nice apartment units to account for most people that were moving into apartments because they wanted to replace what they had in their houses, but while still keeping the large sizes. And then the last 20 years or so was completely about the amenities. So everyone knows the amenity wars. It started with small fitness centers, and then everyone has state-of-the-art fitness centers, pools, resident lounges. Properties now have simulated golf courses, just everything. So that's really come to a halt. Amenities are still important, but what's even more important now is really the resident experience. So how do you create a resident experience that makes everything feel like home, makes residents really attached to your community, and then helps residents really feel like this is home? So that's where we are today. Everything is really focused around resident experience and resident engagement. And that really starts with the move-in process. So why moving is so important and why it's a topic I'm so passionate about really goes back to my first year of college. So a little bit of a story about why I think the move-in process is so important. So in high school, to my first two choices for college, Dartmouth and Johns Hopkins. Hopkins was about 5 minutes from my high school and about 15 minutes from my house. So it was where I wanted to go, super excited about it, and then got into both colleges. But then decided that, oh, Hopkins is too close to home, so I should go to Dartmouth. So made the choice, send in my acceptance letter, and then send in my rejection letter or my non-acceptance letter to Hopkins. A couple of months later, changed my mind and decided that I really, really wanted to go to Johns Hopkins. Like I made a terrible mistake. And so called Hopkins to say, oh, I changed my mind. I want to join your class. And they were like, no, it's way too late. Our class is already finalized. Everything is already done. But they told me I could come next year as a sophomore. So I could come in as a transfer student. So going in, I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So drove 8 hours a few weeks later to New Hampshire, which is where Dartmouth is based out of. And my plan was to be there for a year, and then after that, go to Hopkins, which was where I really wanted to go. So I made the trip, but then when I got to campus, this was the type of welcome that they gave us. So it was, welcome to Dartmouth. Like, this is how we do things here. It was exciting. Everything was just amazing from the beginning. We were greeted by upperclassmen who had they had dyed their hair, excited to meet us, and then just created this atmosphere where I was completely blown away. And then part of the onboarding or part of the freshman orientation for Dartmouth is an outdoor trip where you spend about 5 days, either hiking, canoeing, mountain biking, all these like outdoor activities to really help you get to know the New Hampshire area. And it was amazing. And then immediately made a lot of friends from the 5 days we were out. So everyone is placed into freshman groups where you get to really get to know the freshmen and 2 upperclassmen. So from there, within less than 2 days of being on campus, I immediately said, this is home. There is no way I can transfer. So basically went from, I'm going to transfer in a year to within 2 days, thinking there is no way I can leave this place. Like, this is home for me. And the reason why that happened was all about the orientation that I had, which is why moving is so important. So my college did a couple of things really, really well. One of those was they made it all an experience. So it was completely experiential. It was not, here is a binder of information about our campus. Everything was around, here is how we do things in New Hampshire. Here are these things. Here are these mountains. Check all these things out. They made making friends really, really simple. So as a freshman, you don't know anyone. You know your high school friends, but they are miles and miles away. You are in a completely different state. You don't know anyone. But they made it really simple for everyone to make friends and really actually form real friendships. And then they were able to show me the highlights. So when I got to New Hampshire, I grew up in Baltimore and was never really exposed to the mountains or anything outdoor related. Getting to New Hampshire, that's what New Hampshire is all about. It's the outdoors. So immediately they thrust us into the outdoors to say, here is why people live in New Hampshire. And it was an exceptional experience. And then finally, they made every single freshman feel special, from who you interacted with to how they paired everyone together. It was just completely personalized. And it really, really made me feel special. And it's what made me immediately say, oh, this is actually home now. Like, there's no way I'm going to transfer next year. So why is this important for resident onboarding? So the moving process for residents is very, very similar. You want to create an experience that excites residents, an experience that makes them immediately feel like this is home. And the reason why you want to do all of that is because the move-in process essentially sets the stage for every single thing else. And why that's so important is because it impacts everything else that you look at. So from events, so if you do a good onboarding, it impacts if that resident is going to attend events. It impacts if that resident is going to make friends or keep to themselves. It impacts if they are going to download your communities app, if they are going to follow you guys on social media, if they are going to constantly interrupt the office with questions, if they are going to pay rent on time, if they're going to renew. if they're going to give notice early or give notice last minute. And it also ultimately impacts if that resident is going to become a problem resident or a model neighbor. So it really sets the stage and foundation for everything else that happens. So having it as an afterthought really does a disservice to what happens down the line, whether it's a month after the resident moves in or 5 months after they move in. So when we've looked at all the ways moving is currently done, we've noticed a couple of key mistakes that a lot of property managers make. So the first one is really property management. The first one is looking at the moving process as a checklist. Like, oh, let me give the resident their resident guide. Let me give them their keys. Let's do an inspection. So if it's just a checklist, it's not really an experience. It's not really special. It's completely not memorable to the resident. The other thing that we see is that it's not consistent. So one resident gets exposed to this person gets exposed to this. So one resident is given the resident guide, the other person isn't. One does the inspection, the other one doesn't. So the experience is really not consistent across the board. The other thing that we see is that it's not really memorable. So from a resident perspective, they move in, they get everything, and that's like it. You want to create a memorable experience because that sets the foundation for everything else. And then it also helps you because that's the perfect time to get those reviews that you want to have. Most everyone has probably seen videos from like Casper or other companies where their customers post videos online where it's like an unboxing video. So Casper is an online mattress retailer. So the mattresses come in a small box like this, and then it's such an exciting feeling when you receive it that a lot of their customers take videos of themselves actually unboxing. People do the same thing too for iPhones or other electronics and post those videos online. So those companies end up getting hundreds of thousands of brand exposure because their customers are so excited about their product. So it's the same thing too for residents. If you create something memorable, personalized, and exciting, your residents are going to post about those, whether it's on Instagram, on Facebook, or simply leaving reviews because they had such an amazing time with the moving process. So how do you actually make moving amazing? So the first part is to really make it an experience. So the goal here is to shock residents by how amazing your moving process is. That's the first way to really stand out from your competitors because no one really does it. So if you are able to offer an experience that really, really excites residents, they are going to talk about it. They are going to brag about it. They are going to help you get a lot more referrals and a lot more social media traffic. So some of the tactics for creating that experience are easy things like one, do monthly new resident dinners. So every month, just have a new resident dinner. That could be something the property pays for, or it could be something that the residents themselves pay for. Bring your own dinner. So just a way to ensure that every new group of residents get to meet the other new group of residents. So immediately, that creates a stronger sense of community. Second part is make it fun. Really gamify the moving process. It could be as simple as asking residents to go use each of the amenities and send a picture when they are using it. So it's very similar to a scavenger hunt. And then reward them for doing it. It could be giving them a $5 gift card. This ensures that residents have actually checked out all the reasons why they moved into the building. We hear from a lot of property managers that when they do move out surveys, one of the big things they hear from residents is that they are moving out because they never really use the amenities and they don't want to keep paying how much the rent is because they haven't gotten the benefit. So one easy way of solving for that is make sure your residents actually use the amenities. So gamify that process, make sure they are able to check out the fitness center, check out the pool, check out the unknown parts of the building that they might not know about. So a really easy way to do that is just create a scavenger hunt and make it really fun for the resident. Other way is to gamify the residents' integration into the rest of the building. So for example, offer challenges that allow residents to meet other residents. It could be as simple as giving a reward for residents that get coffee with another resident. So make sure that as soon as a resident moves in, they are able to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 friends. There are a few studies that show that the more people you know in the building, the less likely you are to move out. So if you create that, it allows residents to get to meet other people and then ensures that they are way less likely to move out. The third part is offer move-in gifts. So make it really, really special when a resident moves in. I will talk more about what that looks like. And then the last part is really just-in-time communication. A huge mistake we see for the moving process is when residents move in, they are given all the information at one time, which is overwhelming. So a great part for moving process is provide information just when residents need it. And then when it comes to offering moving gifts, really simple. Make it fun for residents, create something exciting, and it doesn't have to be a huge part of your budget. This could be anything from $5 to $20 per resident. So offer them the essentials, whether it's toilet paper, plunger, soap, or snacks. So for most people, when they first move, some of those essentials are the things that are always missing. So offer them those quick essentials. And then if you offer a plunger, something that means that you probably get way less maintenance requests as well too. And then also offer branded swag. So make residents feel like they have joined a great community, whether it's a branded yoga mat, branded t-shirts, water bottles, something that really gets them to say, oh, this is my new community. So make it fun for them. Offer service amenities. Offer them a month of maid services, a massage, a personal trainer, a TV mounter. Make it really special for them to be like, oh, this building is different. If you look at where you typically have great experiences in housing, one of those is hotels. When you go to a hotel, they make you feel they make everything very personalized to you. So you want to bring the same air to when a resident first moves in. And then other part is you can offer gift cards, whether that's gift cards to major brands, or it could be gift cards to local restaurants, local providers near the building. You can set up those partnerships so that those gift cards are actually free for you all, so you don't actually have to spend any budget. For the local restaurants, it's a great way to get new people in. And then it also allows you to make it fun for residents to get to know what are the local hotspots in town. So you can also create a scavenger hunt around this. So go try out the coffee here, the coffee shop that's 2 blocks from the building, the one that's 5 blocks down here. So make it really fun. And it allows residents to really get to know the neighborhood and get to know what's around them. And then the next part is don't overwhelm information. Don't overwhelm residents with information. This is definitely a big one that we see is when someone first moves in, they are provided a binder of information. And it's completely overwhelming for most residents. And then what ends up happening is that the property gets a lot of questions, constant emails from residents asking for information that they should already know. So you spend half your day just responding to resident questions because no one reads the resident guide. But if you can provide that information in a really tailored way, it makes it significantly easier for residents to absorb the information and get what they need just in time. And one easy way of doing that is you can create a series of emails that you can send residents. So instead of giving all the information at one time, you can provide residents with information just when they need it. So it could be 14 days before someone moves in, send them the move-in checklist. 10 days before they move in, send them an email to download your app or to create an account in your resident portal. 7 days before they move in, send them an email about your renter's insurance reminder. 1 day before they are moving, send them a welcome letter from the whole team or a video. And then 2 days after the move-in, send them a survey to ask them how was your moving experience. 7 days after the move-in, send them a series of emails that go over all your amenities. One day could be an email about your fitness center. The next one could be an email about your pool. The next one could be an email about your rooftop. So really make it simple and fun for residents to check those things out. And that's also where you can tie in how to do that scavenger hunt. And then another email could be a listing of everything in the neighborhood so they can know where everything is located. Another email, 21 days after the move-in, could be an email asking them to follow you all on Instagram. And then 90 days after the move-in could be when you ask for the referral. And then 90 days before the move out, that's when they get another email asking them if they're going to renew. So really providing the information just when they need it versus dumping everything at one time. And then the last part is really encourage social sharing. So immediately, your goal should be to have a review from each resident a month after the move-in or a week after the move-in. So that's the perfect time to capture that. The resident is really, really excited about the move-in. You've done an amazing job getting them onboarded. They're really hyped up. So that's when you want to capture that review. That could be as simple as printing out a card or sending an email or something else that ensures that you capture the review when the resident is most excited about you and your team. So now I'll turn it over to Mariola to talk about how Avador approaches the resident experience and the move-in process. And then in the comments, feel free to ask questions.
So in preparation for today's call, what we really wanted to share with you is the reasons why we felt that the resident experience and the resident onboarding was so important to us. One of the things that Jude touched on in the very beginning was this wellness initiative. So we realized that it was no longer simply about the design of the apartment or the amenities that were created, but we realized that people were looking for an experience as part of this. And it was a combination of their homes, the community at large, and their surrounding environment that really affected their daily behaviors and their lifestyle. So we knew initially that in order to shift and to really differentiate ourselves, especially in saturated markets, we needed something that was unique. And we knew that the resident onboarding experience was the way that we could build this program. We wanted this to really define us and our product and who we were. And the onboarding experience was how we were going to do that. We also wanted to ensure that, as Jude mentioned, the process was automated. And so the reason why this was important to us is because oftentimes in these settings, what we see is light staffing. And it was a lot to put on the staff that we currently have to do everything manually. But an automated system where we could really ensure that not just every resident in that community had a consistent experience, but as we started to build more 55 communities, we wanted each of them to be able to have the same program. So we wanted one of our residents in Minnesota to have the exact same experience as one of our residents in Illinois, as one of our residents in Nebraska. And this was the way to accomplish that. Other reasons why this was important to us, we really wanted to build a platform that really fostered relationships between each of our residents. We wanted them to befriend one another. We wanted them to come to our continental breakfasts. We wanted them to come to these special events, these new resident socials, welcome socials for new residents. And more than that, we really wanted to make sure that they use the amenities that we did have. So it was important for us to take the time and explain the amenities and really offer incentives and challenges throughout this process so that residents would go to a space and either attend an event or attend a program or activity that we had, or check into a space if they chose to use the space, utilize it independently from us. But we really wanted to integrate them into our communities, make sure that they were taking advantage of everything we had there, and make sure that they were having the opportunity to get to know one another. And so we developed a program where, similar to what Jude laid out, starts well before the resident actually comes to our community. From the beginning, it was important to us because we wanted residents to know that to us, they came first. And this didn't start on the day that they technically moved into our building. It started weeks in advance when we could start giving them slowly that information that they needed and really giving them the opportunity to get to know us as people. You know, as I said before, the staffing is light, So it's not unusual for them to form relationships and know each of our staff members. And it was important that we gave them a glimpse of who we were and what our expectations of them were. So oftentimes we have the opportunity to sit down with residents before they commit to moving in, and we ask them questions in regards to why they're choosing us and what their expectations of us are and of our resident experience program. And with the information that we've gathered from that over the past 2 years is what we use to build our resident onboarding experience. So if anybody has any questions, I could get into the specifics, but in all honesty, Jude did a great job of,
I think that'll be helpful, Mariola. Yeah, I think, Mariola, what would be helpful would be to talk a little bit about what goes into your process, or what are some of those highlights you guys have?
So as I mentioned, our process actually kicks off when a prospect that has come to Toward actually agrees to come and move in. Now, the sales process for us can vary. Sometimes move-ins happen in a matter of weeks. Otherwise, they're going to happen in a matter of 30, 60, even 90 days from now, just depending on what the situation is and how they're transitioning into our community. So it starts with welcome letters. It starts with letters where they get to know each of our team members. We have letters that talk about our amenity spaces and hours of operation, and we give them a glimpse as to what our weekly lifestyle calendar looks like. So the type of events that we have, how often they occur, getting to know some of the partners that we work with so we excite them about everything that's going to take place in the community before they even step foot in it. And then once they're on board with us, we actually utilize some of the platforms like digital signs to welcome our residents on their first day, to really make them feel special and know that we know that that day is about them, and let everybody else in the community know that someone new is joining us, and to stop by and say hello. And then once they're with us, we actually incentivize our residents. So whether they attend events for us, or they check out our amenity spaces, we've also included neighboring businesses as well. So if they visit one of our neighboring business that's on our incentive list, at the end we accumulate points, and there's a whole host of number of rewards that we give. In all honesty, the rewards really are based on the resident. So it's something that we customize. We have a list of about 10 different awards, everything from baskets to gift certificates. And depending on who the resident is and what we know about them, we really determine what's the gift for them. And then along the way, we really do utilize this to get feedback so that we can continue to improve the program and continue to make changes. And the fact that it is automated gives us the opportunity to make changes as we go along without having to print new sheets and new papers and things like that. So from that perspective, it certainly does make it easier to facilitate and easier on the consistency for our teams.
And then, Mariola, one thing that you mentioned that I found really interesting was that one part of the program, I'm not sure if you already implemented this, was incentivizing residents to bring a friend to the building as part of the integration challenge. And that's part of the referral process as well, too.
It is, yes. So as part of the resident onboarding experience, we know two things. We know that happy residents are more likely to refer a friend to come to the community. And we also know how important social media is in regards to getting people to come into our communities. So what we've actually done is, for residents that attend our social events and do these different challenges, a series of 5, 6 challenges that we give them, they acquire points. But if they bring someone from outside the community, someone that isn't currently a resident with us, that may or may not have an interest in being a resident with us in the future, they actually accumulate even more points for doing that. And so we reward them for bringing in guests into our communities to experience our programs with our own residents. And ultimately, the social part of it as well is very big. Social media is probably the #1 way that people know us. And so to be able to document this experience on social media throughout the way, whether it's the resident themselves or us documenting alongside with them, we find that that's huge in terms of referral.
And how successful has that been? And what percentage of residents actually take advantage of that?
So we've actually done this in two ways, and we've learned a lot. The two different ways that we've done this is we've gone into a community that is already a developed community and has a number of residents, and to implement the program, once you already have hit a specific amount of census, can be rather difficult. Can be difficult to go backwards, and again, not everybody had the same experience coming in. The alternative has been, and what we've done most recently and found the most success in, are adapting this program and implementing this program from actually the development process, the pre-lease process. So even before our community was up and open, we were taking information and building, this platform for our residents when they came in. When we did it that way, we had much higher success rates. I actually was talking to our resident experience director at that property the other day, and when I checked in myself, almost every resident that's moved in so far has gone ahead and downloaded the app and is excited about this program.
Oh. And then question from Brittany Norris. She asks, have you run into issues with residents abusing the incentives program?
So for us to this date, we have not, but I will be honest and tell you that the incentives aren't necessarily on a weekly basis. We have built the platform to allow them. We know that residents some will take a little bit longer. So our incentive program can run anywhere from 60 days all the way to something where we reward them quarterly. And we're experimenting with the rewards part of it now, because we're trying to determine whether once you hit a max number of points, you receive a reward, or what we're doing currently is every quarter, the reward points and the incentives that you acquire throughout give you the opportunity to, have more opportunity to win the prize. And so what we found is if we do the rewards quarterly for all these kinds of incentives that they go through, the prize that we can give can be much bigger. If we were to give a lot of small prizes along the way, we felt like it wouldn't mean the same as something that was bigger, truly personalized to someone that made more of an impact for them. But there's opportunity for us to learn in this as well. This part of it is something where, based on the feedback that we get, we can make changes in the future.
Yeah. And then a question from Damon Thomas. How has the program changed with COVID and social distancing?
For a long time in our area, at least in senior living and 55 plus, March, April, May meant that we actually could have no move-ins come into our communities. And so starting in June, we were able to allow move-ins to come back into our communities in specific. And so COVID has changed things to a certain extent. Obviously we know that depending on the state, depending even on the county, there are restrictions in place in regards to the number of residents that you can have at a program. So depending whether we're in Florida, Georgia, Minnesota, or Illinois, there's a cap on the maximum number of residents that we have. And we always, regardless of state, respect social distancing and ask our residents to wear PPE. But even through COVID, we have had a combination of virtual events, a number of them with Flamingo, but we've been able to still offer exercise classes, wine and paint nights. We've had opportunities for cooking demonstrations virtually, where we deliver the materials to the residents' room and they cook along with the chef through a Zoom type chat. So we've been able to keep up all of our social programs. We haven't diminished the number of programs. We've just had to get a little more creative in what we do virtually.
Mm-hmm. And then, so a question from Carly, how have these events impacted residents so far, especially your newer residents? I'm not sure if she's asking if how you track ROI for event attendance or just events as a whole. Is that something you guys are doing at the moment?
So we're currently tracking RSVPs to be able to, obviously, since we're limiting the number of residents, it's important that our residents at this time RSVP to events so that we can then create wait lists. It's just the reality of the new normal. We can only have a certain number of residents per event. In regards to the onboarding experience in itself, the incentives and the activities that are directly related to the onboarding program, I was really surprised. In the newest development that we just opened up in June, residents were excited about the program. They were excited about this app. They downloaded the app. They're looking to it to find out what activities are occurring, what incentives, what challenges we're putting on them. And it is probably the most number of residents that have engaged in the lifestyle program as quickly. What we were seeing for 55 plus prior to using this resident onboarding experience was that it sometimes took 30 or 60 days for the residents to really embrace the community, embrace the lifestyle programs, and that was just too long. We wanted them to really embrace us and who we were in our programs much quicker. And using this for the first time in our newest property in just outside of Chicago, we see almost all the residents logging into the app. We see them engaged in it. They ask us questions when they have questions about it. So it certainly has improved our lifestyle program, and they're certainly committing to our lifestyle program and engaged in it a lot sooner than us prior when we were not using something like this.
Mm-hmm. And then other question from Carly, I think clarifying about like virtual event attendance rates and feedback specifically. So I can actually answer that one, and then Mariola, you can give additional comments. So for Flamingo as a whole, we saw a huge uptake in virtual events overall. And then in terms of attendance rates, we saw higher attendance for fitness classes. So the reason behind that is because a lot of residents that typically wouldn't attend in-person classes engaged in those like virtual fitness classes. But that attendance rate has since gone down. I think people have become what's called like Zoom fatigue. So attendance has dropped. But before we had, I think on average about 10 to 15 for the virtual classes per class. And then for events, we've seen a huge uptake in virtual events as well. The highest attended events for virtual events were cooking classes and then wine and paint events, where the wine and paint kits are mailed to the residents. So typically those are sold out really, really quickly. So those are the ones that I would recommend. And we also saw really high engagement with events like virtual bingo and a few other things. One of our upcoming webinars is actually focused around virtual events and safe events as amenities reopen in the next couple of months. That one is in about 2 weeks.
And I would say in our experience for virtual events, fitness classes, we're definitely number one with similar attendance, 15 residents, per class. We still continue to see those numbers in the fitness classes that we offer. And for us, cooking demonstrations and wine and paint nights are probably the most popular of the virtual programs.
And that's what we see as well for all the other communities that we work with. Like those have been the most popular. Okay, great. Doesn't look like there are any other questions. So thank you all for attending our webinar. So we have a few other webinars coming up. Next week, we have a webinar around mental wellness and resilience for property managers. So we will have a wellness coach and expert to talk about the key strategies to use to ensure that your mental health is optimized, because property management, as you know, is very, very stressful. You are receiving complaints from residents, pressure from ownership. So this one is going to help you build the mental strategies to really deal with all of that. And then in 2 weeks, the webinar is going to be around events. So we are going to look at all the data from all the events we've done the last few months to look at what events had the highest attendance, recommendations, and then how to safely do in-person events as things reopen. And then the week after that, we are doing one on ancillary revenue. So how to earn additional revenue from offering services to residents. And then we have a few other webinars planned. So if you are not on our email list, make sure that you are on the email list. And you can sign up for our webinars. I'll send a post recap of this webinar, and I'll include the link to how to sign up for our other webinars. Oh, thank you all so much for attending, and hope you have a good rest of the day. And then thank you, Mariel. I appreciate you jumping on this webinar.
Thank you.
Hey, guys.